So, welcome to AI Unleashed. The genie is out of the bottle. So, do we need to be careful what we wish for? In this episode, we're joined by Elliot Grove, the visionary who founded the Raindance Film Festival and the British Film Awards. Elliot is at the forefront of exploring how AI can revolutionise scripts and filmmaking, blending tech with the art of storytelling. Welcome, Elliot.
Honored to be with you. Thanks so much, Douglas.
Good to see you. So, what sparked your interest in AI for filmmaking, and how did it connect with what you were doing at Raindance?
Well, I started brain back in the early 1990s when everything was celluloid. Then we had digital cameras, and then we had digital exhibition. There's no celluloid or hardly any played in cinemas anymore. And then, of course, we had all the social media, uh, whatever. And then 3 years ago, oh my God, artificial intelligence. So I view this as a yet unproved new tool. And of course, there's all kinds of ethical issues and so on. But oh my God, for the types of work that creatives do, it is a boost, especially when there's boring spreadsheets you have to generate.
Absolutely. So how are filmmakers using AI in script writing today? And have you seen any standout examples?
This year at the Raindance Film Festival, we're threading a whole series of AI through all of the industry film forum, discussing things like editing, camera, production, of course, doing budgets and so on, and of course, screenwriting. And in terms of screenwriting, I think AI and the advantages of AI allows you to search for material much quicker than the old-fashioned, can I say the word, Google, which we used to rely on. And you can put the prompt into your chat box on whatever program you're using, and suddenly, poof, you get a whole bunch of ideas. Now, the danger is, of course, Douglas, as you know well, is that if you rely totally on AI, it comes across as rather, what's the word, artificial. And the role of human beings is to pump the emotion into the story, and that's how artists today, screenwriters and filmmakers, are using AI. The ones who are using it properly are using that to elicit emotion.
Yes, yeah. I've used AI myself for various things, like trying it out with little comedy things or scripts, and I found that it doesn't. The comedy is just useless, at, isn't it?
I don't know. I'm not a funny guy like you, Douglas, so I have no idea. I've never tried comedy, but maybe I will as soon as we finish.
So, what's the most game changing AI tool that you've encountered in film production?
I'm kind of the wrong person to ask about that, but the producers I know use whatever tools in AI to do budgets and schedules, and that is huge. Another thing I found out, a friend of my daughter's is someone who translates subtitles from English into either Spanish or French. Now, AI, of course, can do that just with a click of a button. So his job, instead of spending hours and hours and days and weeks going through the subtitles, his job is simply every morning for a couple of hours checking the grammar in the different languages to make sure it's okay. Now, he's worried that his job is going to go, but I actually think that for the people who embrace and understand how it works, there's a whole new world of opportunities. And in his particular occupation of subtitling, just, there will be fewer jobs, it's true, but those that exist will be far more, what's the word, precious, valuable, than just grunting along and doing the translations. It's a really interesting program. And the other thing, Douglas, you would think being on the forefront of independent filmmaking, I would know more than anyone. But in fact, as you know, it changes almost by the hour. So where are we going? I'm not sure, but it is exciting.
It's fast, isn't it? It's fast changing every sort of month or something new that's been released. That's a game changer. Never mind just marginal increases in releases. But yeah, I guess it's still to hit many different solutions as they come along. So, how are audiences responding to the AI influenced films.
Well, they either like it and buy tickets and attend, or they don't. So I guess that is the same old, same old. But how we use AI on an hourly basis here at Raindance is finding out the keywords and coming up with suggestions of how to promote the cool independent films that no one has heard of. And that's very interesting. And some of the suggestions we get are completely useless, as you might know. That's no different than going to a big ad agency. But very, very often, the angle, the pathway that they suggest are ones that you could research and find out yourself, but literally by click of a button, boom, it's all there. So it means that our marketing team, small and effective as it is, has become even more effective despite the small teensy weensy size of that. Things like coming up with keywords for Google ads and all that kind of stuff, it's invaluable.
Yeah, and I guess it does make it more accessible. But do you find that maybe new voices might get drowned out? Because we're now starting to use AI and that, which are familiar, answers and familiar words and structures of sentences. Do you find that maybe the new voices won't sort of be highlighted?
Well, that is the big danger. And of course, AI is very vanilla. It mashes everything together. So your Asian voices, your Latin American voices, your British voices might in fact be drowned out and everything becomes homogenized. And the danger, of course, is that different cultures lose their identity because everything is mashed in together. And this, of course, is the exciting creative challenge. But back to marketing again, if you had, for example, Douglas, let me think, an Asian horror film, how would you market that to the Asian horror audience without making it sound like just another piece of vanilla ice cream that you could read in any language? So that's the challenge, and I really don't know. I'm learning every day, Douglas, and the questions you've asked me this morning are helping me understand this too, because it's such a new thing. And as I said earlier, it changes by the minute, if not second.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I set up these podcasts is because we're all learning at the same time. Let's not think somebody knows more than the other person. We are all learning, so we'll be as well sharing what we know and embracing and encouraging others to get involved in it. I mean, but what ethical dilemmas do you think would pop up in the creative process for writing or maybe editing?
Well, the problem, especially with writing, is that the whole concept of intellectual property and copyright could, in fact, decease in a few years. Who knows? Because all the AI chat bots are trained on your screenplays, Douglas, and I know you write screenplays. And what if you put them in, or someone puts them into one of the bots, and suddenly your plotline structure or whatever shows up in a Hollywood film, and it could happen. It could easily happen. So, and there's a recent court case in which was it OpenAI went to court and were being sued in America over copyright. Now, I forget. Maybe you remember this was last week. Did they win or lose? I think they lost. But the whole point is they're challenging the whole concept of copyright. And of course, copyright is something that writers and filmmakers rely on to monetize their work. And if your creativity ends up in a big lump pile up there in the Ethernet somewhere that anyone can just, can I use the word steal, or benefit from your creativity without having to pay you, I guess that's another word for theft, isn't it? Then I think that is a real worry. So the question is, how do we use these new tools ethically and responsibly? And most likely that is in sort of the data management type processes filmmakers need, like budget, schedules, all that kind of stuff. I had an interesting story, if I might digress just for a minute. I had to prepare a contract last week, quite urgently, but unfortunately my lawyer, who would normally charge me several hundreds of pounds, was on holiday. So I went on to AI and asked them, I need a contract for XYZ. I pressed a button. 30 seconds later, I had a 12-point contract. I saved it until my lawyer got back from work, from holiday, and I sent it to him, and he said, "Who the hell did this?" And I don't
Excellent.
know if I don't know if you saw the other day. There's a new company in Britain that if you've got a legal question, you pay $2 and you get the rough answer. And this is all the kind of boring work, like how do I fight a parking ticket, or
Uh-huh.
complain about my income tax return or whatever. $2, and you get a stuff. Now, if you want more, then you pay another $2 or $5 or whatever. Up to $50, I think, is the top price. Now, normally a lawyer would charge hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, for the same thing. So the law societies in America were trying to prevent this. And of course, they
Of
lost,
course.
which I think is good. But it means that your lawyers will be, it's a bit like Trump doing to all the industries. Lawyers may be top heavy with a lot of juniors doing the mundane work with the money passing up to the guys at the
Of
top of the
course. Yep.
chain. And now this is all going to be thrown out by AI. And it means that mom and dad at home, brother, sister at home, have a legal problem. They're annoyed about the council tax bill or the electricity bill, or want to know what's happening to their pension money or whatever. Boom, $2, and they get the answer. I think that's a huge advantage. It's going to completely change the structures, in this particular case, of the legal industry. And there won't be so many children being encouraged by their parents to go to law school because, A, the time and money, and secondly, the amount of work available is going to shrink because AI will be taking over a lot of those mundane entry level jobs. But hey, if you don't have to do that, maybe you can do something else like, I don't know, learn to lay bricks or garden or, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Some other human oriented the one that only humans can do.
But the
But
other
yeah.
interesting
So
thing,
yeah. Go ahead.
sorry to interrupt. The other interesting thing is that we have big cultural centers like New York, Los Angeles, London, Berlin, and so on that are populated by high-paid people whose jobs might be a threat by AI, as I just mentioned, like the lawyers. But there's other cities where you have the tradespeople, the jobs that are not easily replaced by AI, auto mechanics, house builders, painters, decorators, gardeners, farmers. Those people, those jobs will never go to AI, which means that those people are going to be the ones who will benefit, I think, from this. And the cultural centers, the great cultural centers like, I'm in London right now, could become desolate because all the high paid people have lost their jobs. Who knows? I don't know. But there's a good opportunity for creatives as well as how do you benefit from any sort of social change. We're seeing huge social change right now in America with the Trump administration and the so called tax tariff on films coming into America. I think these are huge opportunities. And like filmmakers in generations and centuries gone, what most people call our problems are simply another creative opportunity.
Exactly. It's all about change, and we adapt and evolve. So in the I heard recently, I think it was last week, that the Oscars are now going to include or allow films with AI to be included in the Oscars. Are you thinking about that in Raindance in terms of maybe having a best AI assisted film or something like that?
We're already doing that. We're showing 3 short films created totally in AI next month during the Raindance Film Festival, plus the filmmakers discussing how they created that, and the audience, of course, judging whether or not it is really good or really, as I think you British people say, pants.
Well, exactly. Yeah, the proof is in the pudding. It's technology has always been part of filmmaking, anyway, isn't it? The way back from masking who's actually talking in the film with another voice or CGI when that came along. So it's always been about creativity and using technology. So I guess it's just one new technology. But I think the key thing, as you mentioned, is the copying, which because you're using people's well, that's people's business. That they are actually being
Yeah.
copied, and whether it be scripts or their voice or their performance, that's all at risk. And I guess that's why there was a lot of hoo-ha in the States over, I think, a couple of years ago, where they were looking to make sure that they had that protected in some way.
Hmm.
So I guess the
But
law is always catching up. So lastly,
but you
then,
know,
just before you go, sorry,
yeah,
on you
yeah.
go. What one?
So
I was going to say
you
one
make a
last thing.
film, you make a film in Scottish, let's say, and now you want to market the film to an Asian country, for example. You can click a button, and I can have your voice sounding as you in Cantonese or Japanese with a click of button. Plus, I can smurf, make your lips move in AI according to the vocal sounds that you're making in that language. Now, is that good or bad? I think it's amazing because it means for practically no money, you as a filmmaker can access a whole range of new markets.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, I think it does provide the independent filmmaker with bigger opportunity. They can look bigger and add more value into the final image. So what I was going to say, one last thing then, and feel free to plug something you're doing, which I know you are. But
Careful, be
what's
careful, be
what
careful.
fi- finalize? What is one simple way to start playing with AI? That filmmakers might pick up that you're aware of, and I know you're doing some courses, so it was a loaded question to allow you to answer it with some of the details of the courses you're going on.
Well, we do something called the AI Foundation Certificate. It's 5 Monday nights starting, I think, in July or August, I can't remember. Each week, a different tool and with practitioners explaining how to use it responsibly. That's really good. But whether or not you use AI, if you've got an idea for a film, please go and write it down and make it. The the barriers to entry to the industry are so much lower than they were when I first met you back in the days of celluloid, when you needed tens, if not hundreds of thousands. Now, literally, you can use this thing here, your cell phone, and shoot something that is cinema quality. And if it's not in the cinema, oh my God, why not get your social media going and put it on a YouTube channel and monetize it that way? As the Chinese have done with their micro shorts, 600 1 minute episodes in China. You get the first 3 free and then you subscribe. And in China last year, that micro short business generated over $5 billion. The so called film industry in China, only $6 billion. And now it's coming to the English speaking world in America and indeed the United Kingdom. Can you do something like that? Uh, Utilizing the TikTok 1 minute, 2 minute, the micro shorts, whatever. You see, there's a whole different way to skin the proverbial cat, as my parents used to say. And the days of the 90-minute, 2 hour feature film, those days are numbered, I'm afraid, as people's attention spans shrink because they're always on the phone scrolling like this. But hey, it's all about story. So if we need storytellers, Douglas, more than ever before, helping to explain to you and I and your children, your family, how to process all this incredible, terrible trauma in the world, in the same way as the ancient prophets thousands of years ago explained uh, climate change, Noah and the ark, pandemics, the locusts, the diseases of Job. And these ancient storytellers wove stories so helpful to the local population that they have survived until today. And we know those ancient storytellers as prophets. So maybe, Douglas, you and your listeners and watchers will have such a profound story, even in 1 minute, that the next generation will remember them as the prophets of the 2020s.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's great advice, and I know I for one have been looking at how to do realizing this change of going down to a minute, but I hadn't realized it was a profitable entity in China. But that's really valuable, and I think good opportunity for a lot of people to go and do
Yeah,
it, and perhaps
yeah.
see their film at the next Raindance with lots of 1 minute shorts. But yeah, I'm with you. The long movies. I just get, especially in the last year's Academy, there was like 3 hour films, coming out, and I'm like, oh my god, I get bored after 90 minutes. I'm a 90-minute person, but that's because of just how I've been conditioned. But I guess the next lot of people are being getting used to social media, as you say, their attention span becomes smaller, and maybe 90 minutes isn't going to be good enough for them. But
Mm.
yeah, it's all good to watch, and I think filmmakers need to be on their game to watch uh, how it evolves. But jump in and try and play around and see what audiences like. I think that's what the whole thing's about, as you're suggesting. So great advice, and go along to Elliot's courses because that's a great idea. Was it 6 Mondays or something like that? I like that
5 Mondays, yeah.
concept. You don't
Yeah.
Yeah, you just it's a good and I think it's outside of 9 to 5. Is it evenings and is or is it during the day? Evenings, I think it was, wasn't it?
Currently it's evenings. We probably do that on the daytime for all the office workers who want to take 2 hours off at their boss's expense. And by the way, Andrew, I saw The Brutalist 3.5 hours long, and I realized why they have an intermission, because us old fellas need a toilet break every 90 minutes.
Exactly. Exactly. Right, on that note, thank you. Always great talking to you, Elliot. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us and share this. And I'll stop recording now, but stay on the line and I'll say cheerio to you. Thanks again.